I just saw the Marvel Spider-Man 2 story trailer, and holy hell, that was good. So there are a few things that I want to talk about today because I think they need to be brought to attention, but the main thing we are going to be covering is this mad theory with Mr. Negative and why he showed up in the trailer and why he's even a part of this game in the first place. And yes, it goes a lot deeper than just servicing Miles Morales' story, but we'll get to that. Let's talk about the graphics, shall we? Because, phew, they are amazing. Can we just take a moment to appreciate how good this game looks? All the cutscenes, the gameplay, everything. Even the cinematography looks amazing. This is a video game. It doesn't have the rights, but it goes and does it anyway. Either way, this game looks absolutely incredible. Next up, I just want to quickly cover the character designs before we move on to the craziest stuff and the really mad theory I have for you today, and it is mad. But damn, does everyone look amazing in this game. Peter's new face model looks great in this game. Miles got a new trim and it looks amazing. MJ's new design looks incredible, but Harry looks a little bit too much like Peter. Yeah, that's the only gripe I have with this whole thing. It's just that Harry, he looks like Peter, man. I'm sorry, he does. But yeah, apart from that, everything else is amazing. This video, I want to cover two main things that were shown in the trailer, and I think two very interesting things that a lot of people are going to be talking about. The first one is the symbiote's origin story and the inclusion of Mr. Negative, because I think these two things are going to play bigger deals in this game than you actually think, and I think they both tie into the same plot point and narrative portion of the story, and I'm going to tell you why. So first, let's start with the origin of the symbiote. Why is this relevant? So at first it looked like the origin of the symbiote would be that of the Ultimate Spider-Man comic series, which saw Eddie Brock Sr. and Richard Parker, parents of Eddie Brock and Peter Parker, develop the symbiote as a way to cure cancer and other various diseases. In Marvel's Spider-Man, it looked like Norman Osborn was developing the symbiote alongside Dr. Curtis Connors at Oscorp Industries as a way to cure Harry from his illness, in a similar vein to the way that which Richard Parker and Eddie Brock Sr. did in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. In the new trailer, it looked like it worked, and the symbiote does have regenerative and healing abilities. As even Harry says himself, we're going to heal the world. By the way, I just want to mention that Harry is so obviously Venom. Like, if you don't think Harry's Venom, then I don't know what to tell you. However, from this scene that was shown in the trailer of a crash landing site surrounded by fire in a woodland area, it looks like the symbiote will arrive from outer space, which is, funny enough, the origin of the symbiote that is commonly associated with the 90s animated show, Spectacular Spider-Man, and of course, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. So it appears that the symbiote's origin in this game is going to be a mix of both the outer space alien, which will be enhanced through the adaptation of the Ultimate Spider-Man version of the story, which I think is pretty awesome. They're taking stuff from both books, and I really like that. Okay, so we know that the symbiote is an alien, and we know that Norman Osborn has enhanced it or is testing on it in some way in Marvel's Spider-Man to cure Harry. But how? Well, that is where Martin Lee comes in. Now, hang tight, because this theory I'm about to tell you might get a little crazy. So we know in the comics, Martin Lee, aka Mr. Negative, comes into contact with Eddie Brock, who, by the way, is the main host for the symbiote, like, you know, since the 90s, right? Everyone knows that. Eddie at this time had cancer, and there was basically nothing he could do to heal himself. However, when he came into contact with Mr. Negative, he transformed his cells into negative cells. And when Eddie bonded back with the symbiote, the negative part of his cells basically transformed the symbiote white and made him anti-venom. You don't really need to know all of the logistics because, you know, there's things can get complicated in comics. We know this, you know, often a lot of things don't really make much sense, but that is the bare bones of it. Eddie had cancer, Mr. Negative does his little fusion dance with Eddie's cells, Eddie bonds with the symbiote, becomes anti-venom, and basically anti-venom is a different version of Venom, which allows Eddie to be, you know, the one in control at all times. So he's kind of a good guy, really. He also has the power to heal people as well, which I think is really, really cool. So how does this tie into Marvel's Spider-Man 2, you ask? Well, if you remember back to the first game, and if you were paying attention, who was it that experimented on Martin Lee to get his negative powers? That is right, that was Mr. Norman Osborn, or should I call him Dr. Osborn? I think it's Dr. Osborn. Who is the one that has been testing, altering, and possibly changing the symbiote to enhance his healing abilities? That's right, Norman Osborn. Who has the son that's dying and he will do anything to save him? That's right, it's Norman freaking Osborn! So my point is, what if Martin Li's inclusion in this game isn't just to be in service of Miles' story, and what if it goes a bit deeper than that? The rageful vengeance that Miles feels towards Martin Li is obviously a massive part of the narrative that is carried over from the first two games, and it is obvious that Miles' character arc in this game will probably go through Martin Li at some point. Because if you remember, Martin Li did kill Jefferson Davis in the first game. But what if the reason Miles and Peter have to seek out Martin Li, or the reason as to why he becomes relevant in the narrative again, is because he has ties to the symbiote? What I'm saying is that this version of the symbiote could already have properties of anti-venom without actually looking like or being anti-venom in the first place. After capturing the symbiote from a crash landing site, Oscorp and Norman Osborn see its chemical makeup as an opportunity to cure his son, who is obviously dying. So him and Dr. Connors start tinkering with it, until they discover that they can create a healing factor by bonding it with the powers of Mr. Negative, in which Norman had possession of at the time. This transformed the symbiote into more of a healing suit than anything else. However, it still came with the side effects of aggression and violence, which is why Venom is still aggressive, violent, and the classic Venom that we all know and love from the comics, the movies, and basically every other adaptation of the character. A few things I do want to mention that do back up my theory actually come from Brian Intihar himself. So if you guys remember when they did the Games Festival and Brian Intihar revealed a few screenshots from the game, he actually did go on to talk about Venom a little bit. First, he revealed that Venom would not be Eddie Brock, and I think from the new story trailer, it is obvious that Venom is probably going to be Harry Osborn. However, he said they were going to do something very original with Venom, whilst also keeping the same things that everyone loves about the character. And that specific statement there lines up exactly with the fact that they might change Venom's properties, they might make him more like anti-venom, but at the same time, they are going to keep everything that everyone loves about the original Venom character. So it does line up, I'm just saying, it lines up. And also with the inclusion of Martin Li, I think everything just does work perfectly. Now, there is one problem with this theory though. Although it does look like it lines up pretty well, as I just mentioned, in many versions of the anti-venom story, Spider-Man's powers essentially cancel out when they're too close to one another. Yeah, I don't know why, but it's comic logic, right? You know, Spider-Man has radiation in his blood, as we know, radioactive spider blood, right? Anti-venom has healing properties, and yeah, you know, they do a little bing bang, and then it's, you know, Spider-Man's powers are gone, right? Either way, we know that Peter gets the Venom suit in this game, so I don't know how they'd work around that. That's the only thing that's really stopping this theory. Either way, I think we know Martin Li is very much a key player in this game now, since he appeared in this trailer, so I definitely think Martin Li's story with Norman Osborn is going to come back around in some form. Whether it does connect to the symbiote or not, I don't know. But since Martin Li in the comics is so heavily tied with the origin of anti-venom, and we know that obviously Harry is talking about healing the world, and then that quote does come back around and is said by Venom at the end of the trailer, and we also know that Harry is dying and he's been given a second chance due to some healing factor, and anti-venom has a healing factor. I think it all just kind of lines up a little bit too much, if you know what I'm saying. But either way, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about my theory? Do you think it has any ground to stand on? I want to know all of your thoughts. With that being said, make sure to subscribe for more Spider-Man videos in the future. We're so close to 30,000 subscribers, and I'd love it if we could push to that goal by the end of the year. That would be absolutely awesome. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, and peace.